USA Today, joining us in the conversation where, Turron, the Eagles, the dust has settled a bit now, and they made some wide receiver changes from the last time we spoke, and we'll get your initial reaction now that they've got two new wideouts to this core. How does this core look today from the last time we spoke when they really didn't have all that much?
Well, I mean, anytime you add an Alshon Jeffery and a Torrey Smith, it's going to make the wide receiver core a lot better. Torrey is an underrated deep threat, a guy who has a lot of hitting yardage. You look at what he did in 2014. He led the league in pass interference yards drawn. So that's something to look at. And Alshon, just a big catch radius, work in the middle of the field, and the 50-50 contested catches down the field. It's a good option for them. And that's going to help a guy like Nelson Aguilar. He's going to be able to, not have all of the pressure put on him. And I think you'll see him slide into a better situation as far as being more productive.
How do you envision this core kind of looking on the surface? I mean, you see Smith and Jeffery is kind of the outside guy with Matthews work in the middle. I mean, how do you envision really those top three guys work in the field?
Yeah, that's more or less how it's going to work. You're going to have Torrey Smith on the outside stretching the field, but then when they start to play off, from seeing how fast he is, then he's going to be able to run those slants, which is what he did when he was in Baltimore when he had 11 touchdowns and 14. You're going to see some situations where he's going to open things up for Alshon, running that deep dig, for Jordan Matthews running the dig routes and the arrow routes, and then even you got Zach Ertz running a shallow cross. So there are going to be different opportunities. You'll see more of a tiered type of passing game where Wentz will have multiple reads for him, and I think it's a good situation for Wentz and for the Eagles, and their offense is going to be that much more explosive.
So, Turron, who benefits the most from this? Is it Ertz, Wentz, Jordan Matthews, Torrey Smith, who had a down year? Who do you think benefits the most?
Well, I think it's actually going to be Nelson Aguilar. I think is going to benefit the most from it because now he's in a situation where he's not being called upon to be the guy. He's going to be able to settle into the role that he should have been used in the first place. Like, he's not your guy that you line up on the line of scrimmage as an X receiver and ask him to make the down the field plays. He could do it, but I think really the best thing for him is to get him running those slant routes, running the curls, hitches, short routes, getting the ball in space, and letting him catch the ball and make something happen. He's an outstanding runner with the football, so that's what you need to take advantage of. So I think it's going to help him. You look at Torrey, it's going to help Torrey also because now he's going to have a quarterback that's going to look to him. I mean, Blaine Gabbert did not look his way. That's why you saw Jeremy Curley have the early success that he had. Now, once Kaepernick got in there, he tried to get him the football, but there just were other things that were involved in that whole mess that you called Chip Kelly's offense last year. So I think those two guys will benefit for sure.
Nelson Aguilar reportedly now going to be number 13 in your program. Let's talk about the guy that's probably going to wear number 17, although initially he said he wouldn't. Now he says he will. How do you see Alshon Jeffery fitting in, and what does he bring to the offense that was lacking? Can you sort of detail Alshon Jeffery's skill set?
Yes, when you look at Alshon, he's a guy that, everybody looks at him and just looks at his deep ball ability, but he's someone that can run the post route, which is another deep route. But, I mean, you look at your intermediate stuff, running the digs and things like that, working the middle of the football field on 3rd and 11, 3rd and 12, getting those hard first downs on 3rd and long. That's something that he brings to the table. He's a guy who's a very reliable catcher of the football, huge hands, the catch radius is there. So he's someone that even when he's covered, he's open. And Carson Wentz, it should help him because there are a lot of times where Wentz will see a guy open and not believe it and hesitate, and that slight hesitation will allow the window to close. When you look at Alshon Jeffery, this guy's open regardless, and Carson's going to learn early that I could just throw the football up to him and rely on him to just go up and catch the football, use his basketball background to box out and go up and grab it at its highest point and, make sure that it's not an interception, it's a reception or an incompletion. So that's what he brings to the table.
Turron, Davenport, USA Today, Eagles Wire, covering everything Eagles. What do you think about Zach Ertz? And, he finished like gangbusters at the end of the year. Does having this help even mean more for him?
Yeah, I think it's going to help him 100%. It may not help him in his trek towards getting 100 receptions and 1,000 yards, but it's going to help him be a more productive player as far as what he's able to do on the field, not from a statistical standpoint, but an effectiveness standpoint. He's going to be yet another option that they're going to have to worry about in that tiered type of route combinations that they'll be able to throw. And I think his percentage of third downs, that he converts to first downs are going to go up because he's yet another guy that, when you look, it's going to have a more space cleared out. So now he could, work the middle of the field. He could work those tight end screens even that, he was able to do in Seattle. So those are some of the things that you'll see. It'll benefit him 100%. He's rarely going to see double coverage, which is a great thing. And then they can also line him up out wide opposite of Torrey Smith and possibly get that one-on-one backside to where he could run that slant route. And now, you're getting a lot of opportunity to make plays.
So, Turron, do you look to wide receiver in the draft now with pick number 14? If, say, a Mike Williams or a Corey Davis or John Ross are there, or is corner now the number one draft need?
Well, I mean, I've said corner has been the top draft need throughout the season and into draft season, so I'm not going to veer away from that. Jalen Mills, Aaron Grimes, C.J. Smith, those are about their only guys on the roster, as far as corners are concerned, so they need to add one. Obviously, Sidney Jones going down make things a little more difficult, and as a matter of fact, they need to add two. So when you look at some of the guys, Akella Weatherspoon, Kevin King, DeMonte KZ, Chidobe Awuzie, if you wanted to have guys, those last two can bump inside and play the nickel. The first two are really good outside. So those are some options. A Treston Deku a little bit later in the draft. If you want somebody that's just a long corner that could get outside and make it difficult to complete those deep passes that so many teams were able to complete against them. Those are some of the guys that they should look at. Without a doubt, corner is the top need, but don't overlook pass rusher either. And, Jordan Willis is a guy I know they met with in Mobile at the Senior Bowl, so he's another one, had an outstanding combine. He could be there, possibly in the second round. I'm hearing some rumors that he's escalated into the first round, but if he's there in the second, you got to look at him.
All right, last one for Turron, and, of course, the Eagles making a move today. Nick Foles is back. Chase Daniel, they trying to trade him. Obviously, probably not going to happen. Will he be released sometime today, do you think?
I think if it's not today, it'll be tomorrow. Sometime soon. He asked for the release, and, look, he came here saying that he wanted a chance to compete for the starting spot. He thought that he was going to compete with Sam Bradford to be the starter. But, if things worked out differently and the Eagles got Carson Wentz, and the rest, as you know, is history. So I could see him being released soon. I don't know about today, but it does have to happen sooner than later so they could get things rearranged for this whole salary cap situation. I know there's offsets in his contract, which will allow, I think, $5 million of the cap hit to be built into or to come off of their books when he signs a new deal. So it's in the best interest of both parties to get him out of there so he could get to a team and sign a decent deal to where, it'll allow the Eagles to recoup some of that. Well, not even recoup, but to not lose that $5 million extra that they would lose under other circumstances.
And restructuring of Ertz deal today to try to help out with some of the stuff going on. So Howie continuing to try to be creative. We'll see if they have room. You think they have room for a couple more minor deals still to come?
Well, I'm looking at, guys like Devon House, guys like Mo Claiborne, maybe on a one-year deal. Those are options.
Interesting.
And then the big one that I would really look at is a draft pick for Kyle Fuller. I think it's a win-win for both teams. The Bears, are ready to move on from Fuller. They have, the Eagles have a couple personnel guys who were there in Chicago and have seen him. So you got the familiarity thing. So we'll see what happens. But Kyle Fuller is a fit. He's aggressive. He's a guy who actually Sidney Jones reminds me of. So I think that they could get a really good corner in Fuller. 1 year, I think it's like $3.6 million, so they could fit that under the books.
I like Sidney Jones a lot, Turron. That was the guy I was kind of zoning in on. That's a shame what happened to him, but there's a lot of depth. Luckily for the Eagles, a lot of depth at that position.
That's correct. And it's unfortunate because he was there, working out just so scouts would come so they could see other guys on the team. That's the type of team first guy that he was. And unfortunately, it came back and it cost him. And, I just wish him the best.
Yeah, man. Turron Davenport at @Davenport_NFL. Check him out at the USA Today covering the Eagles as a couple of more moves for Howie Roseman. Turron, take care, pal.
All right, take care.